Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Jeanelle Slade.
And I'm Russ Riesinger. The long and winding road for the controversial Keystone XL pipeline stopped off in Billings tonight.
Protect our people! Protect our people! Protect our planet! Protect our planet! Monthly, it was a
Now that chanting turned into some shouting as the debate moved inside an open meeting format, frustrating many who showed up to voice their opinions, and it spilled over into venting toward each other.
The meeting was the public's first and only chance to meet and question government officials about the project's new draft environmental impact statement.
We begin tonight's team coverage with Q2's Mitch Laggy, who shows us emotions ran high.
About 3 dozen protesters gathered outside the convention center to voice their opposition of the Keystone XL pipeline. The protest was organized by the Northern Plains Resource Council, a group that has a long history protesting the pipeline.
And we're here today because we're standing together to say no. What are we here to say? No!
A large black stuffed snake was also paraded behind the podium, representing environmental pollution that could happen if the pipeline was constructed. After the short protest, some of those in opposition moved into the convention center to leave their comment. Some tried to move past the open house style meeting to actually use their voice instead of the written word to express their opinions and argue with Montana County officials.
When in America was it okay for eminent domain to be used for private gain?
Under Article 6 of the United States Constitution, this is not consultation with the Great Sioux Nation.
What are you literally, you're now fake news at Trump, right? The State Department's EIS said this was not in the public interest 3 separate times. 3.
As you could hear, people in opposition were very passionate about not wanting the pipeline's construction to move forward. This argument lasted about 7 minutes before it fizzled and everyone became quiet once again. Reporting in Billings, Mitch Laggy, MTN News.
All right, thank you, Mitch.
And although that pipeline route has shifted a bit over the years due to lawsuits across the country, the line would carry up to 830,000 barrels of crude oil per day from Canada to the Gulf Coast refineries.
Here in Montana, the pipeline crosses 6 counties from Phillips County in the north to Fallon County on the southern border. It also features 6 proposed pump stations along the Montana route.
Well, tonight, as many as 200 people weighed in and officially commented regarding the $10 billion pipeline project.
That project has been on the drawing board for 10 years now. Q2's Jay Cohn spoke with those on both sides of the issue.
The open house format allowed for people to submit written comments, or if preferred, they could sit down one-on-one with the State Department stenographer who would take their statement. Among those traveling to take part, county commissioners from Prairie and Rosebud counties who see the Keystone as a saving grace for the local tax base.
The pipeline has the ability to roughly put $25 million back in the pot, so we need to keep those schools funded. Most of that money is dedicated to the schools, so we need that revenue.
This one project in itself, we're estimating at making our tax base 3 times what it is now.
Jane Klebb with the group Bold, Nebraska has serious issues, though, with this open house format.
I don't consider this a real public engaging process, and some of the posters are even just incorrect and wrong. 67 tribes are not consulting with the State Department, only a handful are. So this is one of those issues where I wish our government would do better.
And representatives from Montana's Fort Peck and Fort Belknap tribes claim that TC Energy has failed to consult with tribal leaders. They fear the pipeline could leak, threatening their water supply system.
We are serving 13 schools and 4 hospitals and about 20-some thousand people. By next year, we'll be up to close to 30,000 people, 5 hospitals, and about 17 schools. And if the Keystone Pipeline broke, it's going to destroy potable water.
In spite of the ever-changing world of oil, TC Energy's Terry Cunha told us the project remains economically viable, but hopes the seemingly endless 10-year permitting process will soon lead to a final decision.
The need is still there, as we highlighted earlier, and our customers are supportive of it, and so are a majority of North Americans. We all rely on fossil fuels today. We understand that there is a transition to more renewables, and our organization is very much committed to that.
In Billings, I'm Jay Cohn reporting for MTN News.
Able To today's first and only public meeting, you have until November 18th to submit your written comments regarding the project's draft EIS.
In other news tonight, a former manager at the Signal Peak Energy coal mine avoided federal prison today after helping his boss defraud the company of $2.4 million. 40-year-old Zachary Rubel conspired with Larry Price Jr. to funnel company money to build this 26,000 square foot mansion in West Billings. Now, the judge sentenced Rubel to 2 years probation for conspiracy to commit wire fraud. Rubel must also forfeit an RV and a Rolex watch as punishment. Now, federal prosecutors say Rubel helped Price by accepting fraudulent invoices for mining equipment, collect the disbursements, but never receive any equipment. As a reward, Price gave him a $25,000 check and an RV. Now, Price stole about $20 million from 3 companies. You can see Price here, but was arrested in 2018 for faking his own death to elude creditors. Price has pleaded guilty to fraud charges and is now awaiting sentencing. Now, a third suspect, Stephen Casher, former market president of Rocky Mountain Bank in Billings, is awaiting trial. Casher has pleaded not guilty to bank fraud. And as for the mansion, well, there's an accepted offer on the $16.5 million home, but backup bids are welcome.
Montana Fish, Wildlife and Parks asking for the public's help and offering a big reward for information about a large bull elk that was shot illegally near Hardin. The remains of the mature bull elk were found Sunday night on private property along Sarpy-Baskin Road, that's east of Hardin. The head of the animal had been removed and the rest had been left to waste. FWP is offering a $1,000 reward for information that leads to a conviction in this case. If you know anything, call Game Warden Matt Ladd at 406-860-7808, or you can leave information anonymously on FWP's crime reporting line. That number is 1-800-TIP-MOT, TIP MOT, or 847, that would be 847-6668.
A rare extreme red flag warning now in effect for Southern California, where expected winds are going to top 80 miles per hour.
Now, there's concern those winds could spark additional fires in the hills of Los Angeles. As farther north, the Kincaid fires now displaced some 200,000 people. Daniel Backus has the latest.
Fire crews spent the day in the air and on the ground, tamping down the Getty fire in the hills of Los Angeles. Tuesday, the mayor revealed what caused the fire.
This fire started when a tree branch fell on power lines, causing them to spark and begin this fire.
Officials reported no open flames, but said the danger is far from over.
You see right now hand crews are coming in here to make sure that the smoldering hot spots are wetted down, and we want to make sure that this fire is put down before the gusts of wind start from the Santa Ana.
Those Santa Ana winds are feared to be the most significant wind event of the year, peaking in the overnight hours.
It does take one ember, just one ember downwind, to start another brush fire.
Engines have been staged at brush areas throughout the city. 12 homes have been destroyed, and firefighters want to prevent any further loss. Up north in wine country, some homeowners got their first look at the devastation. Air quality around the Kincaid fire is becoming a concern, and more than 4,000 firefighters are on hand.
That fire is north of 75,000 acres. We are working hard to make sure that we secure the perimeter.
The state's largest utility is expected to continue shutting power to as many as 3 million people in the coming days to prevent sparking more fires.
I'm out here gassing up now, and just to keep that generator going, try to keep our food cold and try not to take no more losses.
The Kincaid fire is burning through dry brush. There hasn't been a significant rainfall in the area since mid-May. Danya Backus, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Well, from snowy to smoky, crews from across Montana taking the trek yet again to California. Both Columbus and Red Lodge fire departments, along with at least 17 other stations, are sending crews to assist.
Crews from Montana have been dispatched to fight fires in both California and Alaska this year.
All right, turning to the weather, Bob, it is just downright cold. We had record lows in several places, including right here in Billings.
Yeah, you know, it's just too bad we couldn't share some of this cold weather with some of the folks in California. Yes. They could really use it. But we're going to start off. If you opened the record books today, this is what you would have seen. Billings had a record of 1 degree. That was our record low officially. And you'll notice other places had, especially in the Southwest, were sub-zero. Up there by Cut Bank, the record was 14 below on this date. But now, let me show you what our reported overnight lows were. And as you'll notice, yeah, we broke some records. All the areas that have a blue star by it, those where we have brand new records. Billings went to 0. That's the soonest Billings has gone to 0 since records were kept in 1934. And you'll see other places like Livingston, 12 below, 14 below, Bozeman, 10 below over at Butte, 8 below in Dillon. Kalispell was 3 below 0. All new record low temperatures. Now you'll notice our current temps were still starting to fall back down into the sub-zero range in the southwest. Looks like it's going to be another very cold night tonight again, with wind chill factors in the Billings area probably somewhere around maybe 9 below by tomorrow morning. We'll talk more about that in a few more minutes.
All right. Thank you, Bob.
And while the weather took a turn to freezing temperatures fast yesterday, that didn't stop people who needed to get somewhere. Billings Police Lieutenant Brendan Woolley stressing for safety, you have to drive to conditions.
And he says just because the speed limit posted is 25 or 35 miles per hour doesn't mean you should be driving those speeds, especially when approaching an intersection.
When you see that type of behavior where people are getting to a point where they're trying to decide whether they want to stop or go through because they don't think they have enough time, that's like clue number one for us that you're going too fast. You need to be able to slow down. The other thing too is just anticipate that. Start slowing earlier, even though that you have the green. One of the things that you can pay attention to is if the intersection has a hand or a walk signal. If it's on the red hand or the orange hand, the light's likely to going to be changing here very quickly, and so you'll be able to anticipate that. If you got a walk signal, then that's probably going to stay green for a while. And there's usually, for the pedestrians, there's usually a solid, steady hand or a flashing hand, and that would indicate that there's going to be an imminent yellow switching to a red because they're trying to warn pedestrian traffic that the light is going to change. So pay attention to that, the pedestrian traffic signal, and that'll kind of give you an idea too as to when that light's going to be changing. That'll help you anticipate that we're moving to going to be a yellow soon, so I should start decreasing my speed much before the intersection.
And while law enforcement spent its time assisting slide-off stranded motorists, the city of Billings was working to prevent that problem in the first place.
Teams were dispatched shortly after the snow started to accumulate yesterday afternoon. Crews manning Sanders and de-icers worked around the clock and through the night to cover the city.
And supervisors will continually assess the road conditions to figure out if and when more work needs to be done to keep residents safe, they say.
Coming up on your Q2 10 o'clock news, Montana's newest health report shows an alarming trend and it's harming newborn babies. We'll take a look.
Plus, playing for a paycheck, a new development in college sports. Check out the details.
And in sports tonight, this Billings swimmer earns a National Athlete of the Year honor. Scott tells us which one, and here's from him.
You're watching MTN News with Jeanelle Slade and Russ Riesinger. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Breen. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.